Hello and welcome. So the topic of this video is accessing elements of a JSON array in Postgres, and the query that we will eventually get to is getting all of the ages of children who are named Bob. So in order for you to understand why that has to do with JSON, I will show you the data. So we have this table called parents, and here I'm doing a select star, and we can see that there's three columns, ID, parent name, and children. Children is the one of interest here because the elements within it are JSON arrays. And so one thing before I start talking about this is just to look at the JSON structure. So these curly braces indicate a JSON object, and the square brackets indicate a JSON array. So you can see the outermost character here is a bracket, and then within that you have a JSON object. So this one JSON object represents a child, and this child's name is Bob, and Bob is 10 years old, and that is Joe's child. And then we also have Liz, who's 12 years old, and once again, that is Joe's child. Okay, cool. So getting into the meat of it, we can talk about how to access a single JSON object from that array. And you can do that by querying the column children, which is the JSON, and then you use this operator here with a single arrow, and you do 0 because you want the 0th element of the array. In other words, the first element of the array. And we're just going to say filter for where the parent is Joe. So let's try running this on the table, see if it works. Cool. Okay, I didn't give this an alias, so it comes up as a strange title, but you see here that we do get this JSON object that's returned with Bob and his age is 10. And so just to validate this a bit, so when you use this operator, what ends up being returned is another JSON object. So we can show that it is a JSON object with this query using pg type of, and yes, we see that the object is JSONB. With JSONB, basically, I don't know if it's in other databases, but in Postgres, it just means that the underlying data is stored in a binary format. So it's typically more efficient for doing operations on than storing it as text JSON. Okay, cool. So the next thing that I will show you is basically how you can return a set of data from the JSON array itself. So that's by using this function, which is JSONB array elements. And what I'll be doing is passing in the JSON column, which is children. And then here I'm using this operator with 2 arrows. And what that does is it returns a text object instead of a JSON object. And I'm saying I want to query by the, basically what I want returned is the age of the JSON object. So let's run this real quick just so you can, it's kind of easier to see than it is to explain. Cool, so here we can see what's returned is a table, right? And the table is all of the children's ages, no matter who their parent is, because I didn't filter for parents. And I'm going into these JSON arrays and I'm getting the ages, right? So that's pretty fun. But what becomes difficult, or what I found a bit challenging, was how do I query based upon that set that's returned? So naively, this is kind of the query that I came up with. I said, if I'm trying to, get the age of all the children who are named Bob, so if I want to filter based upon, an element that's within that JSON array, I thought I might be able to do it like this. But let's see what happens when we do this. So here we get an error. Let me just highlight it. And the error is set returning functions are not allowed in where. Okay, so if I can't put the set returning function in the where clause, how can I do this? Well, the way that I thought of solving this is by using a common table expression, or basically, a subquery. So what I ended up doing is, creating a table, and then once you create that table, then just doing an outer query and filtering the result set. So this is the final query. And once again, this query is the SQL translation of this English query, which is getting the ages of all the children who are named Bob. So I want the children's name who's Bob, and I want the child's name, and I want their age. Really, I could have just done the child's age, but I just decided to add in the parent name and the name of the child as well, just for clarity's sake. And so you can see here, this is a common table expression, and the name of that common table expression is child data. So then I do a select star from that data, and I do the filtering on that data set. Once again, using this JSONB array elements method. And this is what that looks like here. Let me try to clear things up a little bit here. Okay, what did I do wrong here? There's a syntax error. Let's see if we can fix that. I don't know exactly why. I might need to put in some parentheses here. Let's try that. JSONB array elements. I'll put in. Let's see. Parent name text. Huh. Okay. Okay, I see. Forgot a comma. Of course, classic programming, annoying thing. Cool, there we go. let me clear this one more time, and there we go. So this is the result set that we're looking for. So we have two parents, Joe and Christy, both have a child named Bob, and they have different ages. So yeah, that's what I was trying to show, and I hope you learned a thing or two about querying JSON in Postgres. Thanks.